I'm calling the meeting to order, and we'll start off with roll call. We have Roger, not here. Bijou is on her way, but not here presently.
She's not coming.
Oh. Paul Shantz,
Here.
Pandya,
Yeah.
John's here. Kolash,
Here.
Ishmael, and Prius.
Priest, yes.
Yes. Thank you. I'd like to ask a volunteer to read the land acknowledgement.
Sure, I'll read it. We meet today in the community of Iowa City, which now occupies the homelands of Native American nations to whom we owe our commitment and dedication. The area of Iowa City was within the homelands of the Iowa, Meskwaki, and Sauk, and because history is complex and time goes far back beyond memory, we also acknowledge the ancient connections of many other Indigenous peoples here. The history of broken treaties and forced removal that dispossessed Indigenous peoples of their homelands was and is an act of colonization and genocide that we cannot erase. We implore the Iowa City community to commit to understanding and addressing these injustices as we work towards equity, restoration, and reparations.
Thank you. Item number 3, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of June 27th, 2023?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
It's been properly moved and second to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. All right, item number 4, public comment on items not on the agenda. Commentators shall address the commission for no more than 5 minutes. Commissioners shall not engage in discussion with the public or one another concerning said items. Do we have anyone here who would like to make a comment? No? Okay. Item number 5, correspondence. Stephanie? Okay. Item number 6 is a sponsorship request from the Asian Pacific Islanders American Public Affair Iowa City chapter. So this sponsorship request is for, I believe, $250, and it is part of the World Culture Budget, which is a initiative that is happening as part of the Welcoming Week. And the larger nonprofit organization is called Welcoming America, and it's a week where organizations and communities around the nation, and specifically here in Iowa City, are bringing together neighbors of all backgrounds to build strong connections and kind of a welcome and inclusive space. Stephanie, is there anything else we should know about this, or how do I move forward?
If somebody wants to make a motion for providing the 250.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion for granting the Asian Pacific Association, Asian Pacific Islanders American Public Affairs Iowa City chapter, the $250 that they have requested.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
I don't see anybody here from the, and I should let you know that Veronica May took a full-time job with the City of Iowa City Housing Authority. So now
Oh.
she's a family self-sufficiency coordinator, so she's no longer with the police department.
Okay. Okay. Did everyone hear that?
Yeah, I was just observing that she's such a gift
Yeah.
to us, and so will she be replaced?
Yeah, I believe the position's being advertised currently.
Okay, it was a real privilege to work with
Yeah,
her.
Yep, I agree.
So it sounds like item number 7, updates on outreach engagement by the police department. There's no one here at the moment. Okay. So we'll move on to item number 8, which is follow-up on a request to change the Native American land acknowledgement to the First Nations land acknowledgement.
Earlier, we had talked about, we were reaching out to some of the local groups. I don't, was it Sylvia, were you and Kelsey going to do, yeah, did you get a chance to do that, or?
We've had a preliminary discussion around the Parks and Rec organizing of an event, and we followed up with the Great Plains Action Society to have a conversation on this and on their grant, but haven't found a date yet that works.
Okay.
And, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I was good.
Well, Megan Redshirt is going to be providing a webinar on land acknowledgements. Is that the 28th of August?
The 31st.
The 31st of August? I think it'll be relevant. I've been collecting land acknowledgements since I brought this up, but I'm not on the committee, so I'm looking forward to supporting the committee any way I can. I've had some conversation with Great Plains members. And then there's this other piece, the city council passed one. And I don't know how it matches ours, which would be another interesting conversation.
Did that happen recently?
Actually, it was now Senator Weiner was the one who presented this, I think, at her last meeting. It was approved unanimously by the council.
Yep.
So it might become us to have one land acknowledgement for the city of Iowa City.
I would agree with that. I think I was reflecting on the city's land acknowledgement too, and having just a couple of preliminary conversations as we're kind of information gathering at this phase. And so I think I would just like amplify again that it will be really great to compare the examples we have already. That's great, Mark. I think you should join us in this effort now that you're back on the commission. So welcome back. And I think we can just like have a conversation before our next commission meeting to really dive through not just what we've seen, but really where there should be ambition set. Because a land acknowledgement is words and words alone. And so I think being able to say, what does this represent? How do the communities here within Iowa City want to be represented through this type of language? But more so, what's the purpose and what's the meaning that can exist even beyond the land acknowledgement? As we are facilitating relationships and as we're using like this platform in order to speak to issues of importance related to human rights with all minority populations in our community, but also with our Indigenous friends. Yeah.
So we'll do that.
We'll do that.
I'll send, it's Sylvia and Kelsey.
Yes.
And now you, yes.
Now you.
And who else?
You,
Oh, me, yeah, okay.
Oh.
I'll send you some things.
okay.
And I'm intending to be at the webinar. I don't know if you can be.
Yeah, would you send that around or have Stephanie,
Stephanie sent it some weeks ago.
did you?
The webinar, just
With Rich.
31st of
Megan
August, okay.
Yeah, at noon.
I will be out of town, but I will touch base with you both around the outcomes from that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the item number 8 at this time?
And I don't know, we don't need to get in too deeply here, but my question would be of the city council's land acknowledgement is like, is the expectation of that all
Right.
city government groups then adopt that? Otherwise it seems like we're, different canoes in the same stream going in different directions, right? So I'd like to, and I know we think one of our subcommittees kind of is charged with that, right? And kind of building a relationship and improving that with city
Right.
council, because I would like to see, if the city council is going to adopt something like that, that it comes through us, from us, or we're consulted, or some sort of collaboration there.
This is an example of Janice really did think, I should say Senator Weiner, thought that there wasn't anything and that she was going to, so it's significant whereases about why we're doing this. And it was kind of, I'm going to do this before I leave. So there at least
When,
was
you
the
know.
urgency, but you're right. We
but
need to be in
that work had
conversation.
already been done by us and the truth, the ad hoc truth and reconciliation like this. We've had this, for a while. And so like
More than
that,
a year.
we're just kind of, aligning that would be
Absolutely.
nice.
Just before we close this and then move forward, in your mind, how best do we approach both, the work that we're doing with Great Plains Action Society on this, and then also making sure that we're talking with city council? Just coordinating those efforts, I mean.
Right.
My sense is the mayor needs to know we're doing this. And that Great Plains is certainly a tool, but Megan Redshirt is authoritative out of South Dakota. She's a real good resource. I've taken a course with her. It was rather extensive. You don't get to do this like you need to go out and you got to sit in the land and listen to the wind and the grass, and it was a pretty powerful emotional experience. So I don't think we have to be in a hurry. But we need to let the mayor know that we're aware that the city council passed one, we've got one. Truth and Reconciliation Commission, when they met, they read it. So, yeah, I think it's good to let the right hand know what the left hand is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelsey?
Well, I was just thinking about a couple different levels. So, and just processing your last comment, Mark, about the Truth and Reconciliations, their land acknowledgement does match ours because they were made at the same time. So
That's correct.
that has alignment. The
Okay.
city council one, and as it was approved, I think it's reading from the same cloth, but I think I would have a question. You raised a question that I think I would need clarity on, of whether it will be shared across city government departments, or like if there's any sort of ambition to, like at Iowa City activities, to read a land acknowledgement, because this will immediately be relevant for Sylvia and I in our conversations with Great Plains Action, with also Mallory in the conversations about Indigenous Peoples Day. All of these things are really coalescing, and so I think I would be interested in first seeing like how our local Indigenous community wants to be represented in our city documents. That to me is number one priority, and just following up on that, because I think our systems have evolved a bit since our land acknowledgement was made. And so just hearing an update on that with working with them, and then being able to be a conduit and an advocate for their wishes within the city council, but also the city government, would be the steps that I would take. But I think all of this is probably going to happen at a very similar moment, because we're kind of hitting that precipice, yeah.
But I like you're observing that it's Indigenous People Day, which is October,
21st, I believe. I'd have to double check, but I think it's,
yeah?
oh, no, sorry. It's October
October
9th.
9th.
October 9th.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah,
Too
here
many
it is
dates, sorry.
August, but it would be great if we had something, our next meeting it's the end of September,
And it's the only meeting that we have before that.
unless we call a special meeting.
Yes, right, correct.
We'll communicate.
Okay.
I think the timeliness, but you're right, this confluence is really important.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Any further discussion at this point? No. Okay. Let's move on to item number 9, the Racial Equity and Social Justice Grants. We have 3 final reports for fiscal year 2023. And we can do each one of these. Do we do a discussion for each one of these? Is that right? Stephanie?
It's up to, if anybody has any questions or just wants to point out anything in this report, unless you want to.
Any thoughts about any of these that you just wanted to bring up as you read through them prior to this? I'll say for me, I always really enjoy reading these, especially at the end of the grant year, to see all that's been done. I think we had a preliminary report from the Center for Worker Justice at one point, and we really had seen them use the funds to buy the equipment, but to see that they've begun to hold computer literacy workshops, looking at teaching both in English and in Spanish for this skill, and then even to see some of the photos of the people who attended, it makes it that more meaningful. Where I think all of these fall short, and it's not of the grantees, but maybe more on us, is just that this is maybe, I think as we move forward and as we start to think about the ways that us as commissioners interact with the grantees, that there's a little bit more back and forth and touch points throughout their grantee experience, which I think we're starting to roll out for this new year.
I think it's exciting just to read it, and especially I watch for the word gratitude, and they are so grateful, and they are excited about what they did, and they want us to know it.
I like the pictures, and especially kind of the Jabez Cafe included, like, kind of the down to the individuals that they work with and how the grant has impacted them, and talking about that, like you said, we're starting to try to connect more and be more present with these grant recipients. But in lieu of that, this is nice. It kind of gives us a really good vision into that, at that ground level, at that even individual level, to see kind of where that is, and keeping that in mind as we go forward, and work through this year with this year's recipients, and then having that in mind as we award grants at the end of this year too is good.
Exactly. Any other comments or discussion on the final reports that we received? Great. All right, let's move forward to the organizations and commissioner lists for fiscal year 2024.
I'd like to suggest that then there is redundancy at Great Plains Action Society. You could move me up to houses into homes,
Okay, great.
since I don't think Shannon is here anymore.
That's
on the
correct,
commission.
yeah. Thank you.
And how has it gone reaching out to the orgs? Mark, I don't know if you know, but would have been the June meeting, so the commission each selected a organization to reach out to schedule a time to meet them at their actual space.
Yeah,
And at that time, then a check will be presented, which I have a copy of one here, but there's been some changes to it, but they generally look like this one. And then Madison from the office will come and snap a picture with the commissioner and staff from that particular organization. So I don't know if there needs to be, I mean, if anybody wants any assistance in terms of staff reaching out to the organization to see what times work best for them and then trying to arrange that or align that with your schedule. You know, we can definitely do that just to get things moving forward.
I have reached out to the Center for Worker Justice. I've communicated with them a bit, but I was waiting on the check availability
Okay.
to really, make sure that that was ready first and then solidify a date with them.
They're ready, they're upstairs, and what I thought is I would just have Madison bring them, just to keep them nice and wrapped up. She can bring them at the time
Okay.
that is designated for each commissioner to reach out to the.
So just point of clarification, Stephanie, this is kind of on an individual basis, these meetings with the checks, and not one, like the
Correct.
next
It's
meeting.
not,
Okay.
yeah, I think at one time there was talk of bringing people to City Hall for a commission meeting or something, but yeah. Instead of bringing people here to City Hall, the thought was to go to
To
where
them.
the
That makes
organizations
sense.
are at, and kind of develop those initial steps that you would have to trying to develop a relationship with the organization.
So if we're going to put forth action items for each member here before our next meeting, it would be that, one, you reach out to the organization, if you have not yet already, and two, you identify a time between now and then, in our next meeting, to meet with them and present them with the check as well.
Yeah, I know this organization that I volunteered for. I've been there. It'd be great to have the check at their site. Is that what you're?
Yeah,
at the
it's theirs, I
photograph?
think.
Yeah, glad to do that.
You want to show us?
Yeah, we changed, so we took the date out because you guys were making me kind of nervous. So, so
She
we
knows
just
us
put
too well.
001
Oh, that's
and
nice, though.
002.
Oh, that's really nice.
But yeah, so they turned out really, really nice.
Wow.
But the updated ones don't have a date, they have a check number. I think that is the main difference. So this is just kind of the template one.
That's fantastic. Thank you,
But
Stephanie.
I think people will like them.
Yeah.
That looks
That's not what they take to the bank, though, right?
They already got their check.
Yeah.
So that might be why some of
Photo
the directors might kind of be like, what are they talking about? Because they've had the checks since probably May.
Yep.
Okay.
So that could, just to clarify that, which I should have in June, but they may be confused as to what you're contacting them about because they would have received it by now.
And the ceremonial check is theirs to keep after the
Correct,
picture?
yep,
Okay.
Maybe what I might be curious to see if other commissioners would be willing to do is, as we're reaching out to all of these great organizations that have received racial equity and social justice grants, is just seeing what upcoming volunteer needs they have or any events that they want us to promote in the community that we can put on our formal agenda or make sure that Stephanie's office is connected into, and then also just if any of us as individuals want to be a part of volunteering, just understanding what they've got upcoming and any specific interests, needs, dates, that kind of thing might be really great to hear.
I think that's a really great idea, and
Yeah.
if, recently, a great example of that was Wright House of Fashion, which, so yeah, and it's presumed that organizations know that if their city funds that are assisting, that they, can request social media and news releases and stuff, but not everybody may know that, so like Kelsey said, it's a great opportunity to kind of let them know that that's an option if that's, something that they're interested in.
Yeah, I think that even putting, I don't know, almost like a one-pager together for us and for them to be very articulate and what the money's going towards, first, just kind of high level, what the mission of the organization is, what they can count on us for, and what their year looks like and how we can help support that. I don't know if it's something that I'd be happy to just put together a very quick worksheet that then you can fill in, like print off and fill in as you're going into them, if that's helpful, or if commissioners feel like they can do it on their own, that's fine too.
I think having that one standard might
Okay.
be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll maybe I can do a draft and then you customize it, however you want.
And maybe Stephanie can
Yeah. Stephanie, I'll send you the draft, and if you wouldn't mind looking at it and then adding in any resources, like the idea about the social media and the press releases, those are things that
Sure.
probably some of these grantees don't know are available.
Okay. And so the plan is that commissioners will do the direct connecting with the orgs? Okay, because I was going to say, I could always start the correspondence and put in the contact based on the grant submission, include the particular commissioner, just do introductions, and then I'll get out of it.
What are thoughts here?
Or you can choose. I mean, it's not one or the other.
I think
If-
there's a
if-
few of us who have already reached out,
Okay,
so we might
okay.
be okay, but perhaps that offer's on the table generally, and we can remind those that aren't here today that if that makes it, makes more sense for them at this point, that they can email you, Stephanie? Okay,
Definitely.
good. Any other discussion on organizations and commissioner list for fiscal year 2024? Good. All right, and then the last bullet point under item number 9 is volunteers for the informational sessions for FY 2025 social justice and racial equity grants, which are done through Zoom.
Correct. And those were the,
November 8th
yeah.
and November 15th.
And these are just the dates. This, if you looked at the past few years, this is the time, and literally, like, if you bump the calendars up, it's the same. It's equivalent dates that have been used for probably the past 3-4 years. So there's one that is offered over the noon hour, and then there's one that's offered in the evening.
I
Are
can,
those dates fixed?
That would be the preference, but they have not been advertised. So if there's a
I'm very
conflict-
familiar with that work, but I can't be at either one.
Okay.
I couldn't do the week of November 6th, which would be the 8th, but I can do really anytime the week of November 13th. I'll be back.
Okay, so you're not available the first time?
for the
but
first slot, nope.
second. And Mark, the dates don't work.
I can tentatively be available for the November 8th date, but I need to confirm, I may be out of town that day, but I will confirm and get back to you, Stephanie, directly if
Yep,
I'm not
I
able to do
appreciate that,
that.
thank you.
Any other volunteers? So everyone's checking their calendars.
And I know, well, I could tentatively do the 8th. I have another board meeting that I'm on right before that, but I might be able to.
Okay.
The 15th, I'll have to check.
Okay.
Wednesdays from the next few months are not the best for me, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think Wednesdays evenings I have a class, and 12 to 1 I have to be at the hospital, so.
Okay. Well, we can float this with the rest of the commissioners as well.
But we have some time
Yep.
too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be easier when we're closer to know availability much better.
Yeah. Okay.
Stephanie, have you recorded any of those?
Yeah, they're recorded.
So, I mean, from the past, that might be a resource as well.
Yeah, for
If we
people that
can't-
look to get a feel of how they go. Yes.
Good. Is there usually, I haven't been on one yet, but is there usually a lot of dialogue between those who attend and those who, I think backing this question back is maybe, I don't know if that was the point that Mark was making, but is there a need to create something that withstands 1 year? Or is it important to have the live?
I think it's important to have the live
Okay.
because there could be
Yeah.
different change, like there could be minor changes.
Minor changes, okay.
Yeah. And also.
Also a good Q&A opportunity. Right, if there are
Correct.
questions.
And the makeup of the commission changes, and so that
That's true.
change could
Okay.
also influence kind of what a particular commissioner's looking at and what one may not be looking at or getting.
Early on, it was helpful for me to work with other commissioners that had done it before, so I knew what was coming. So we did have kind of a training thing. I don't know what we did. I mean, it wasn't like it was, because there's so many screens to look at. So I'd seen those before we,
And if it looks like, we're not going to be able to get commissioners for both dates, we could probably just do one date where you have the most commissioners who can participate, record it, and then just make it available.
Okay, okay.
But I do think organizations really do like the ability to ask very direct questions in a live session, so I think that's always preferred.
Okay.
Versus, a recording.
Sure.
On this note, I just was curious, do we anticipate between now and the end of the calendar year, or I really should say between now and when the grant application timeline closes, that we anticipate the Human Rights Commission being invited to have a booth at any city activities? I just was thinking that if so, that might be a great moment to share more material about the upcoming grant opportunities.
Yep. And we'll do a flyer and everything with it, so and there'll be like social media images, so you would have information to take with you to those events.
Okay. But none on our calendars yet, right, that we've been invited to have
Not
booths
that
at?
I'm aware of.
Okay. I can't think of any that would typically be happening in the fall now, so.
Good. Any other comments, volunteers for informational sessions at this time? No? All right. Let's move forward to item number 10, the collaboration with Recreation Department on upcoming programs. Maybe we can start off with Indigenous Peoples' Day, since we spoke about it earlier. Yeah.
No, so Sylvia and I have had the great pleasure of speaking with Mallory, who I believe she's an outreach and events coordinator. I forgot her title. I'm sorry, Stephanie. But and representatives of the Great Plains Action Service in context of Indigenous Peoples' Day, which is October 9th. Really, we had a great initial conversation that really touched on the goals and opportunities that are possible for the city, but also that might represent the voices of those who live in our community and who are Indigenous. And I would just highlight to this commission that there were two big things, three that stood out to me. One is that the ask to involve the people of our community who are related to these events is very important. And so that I think we heard reiterated a number of times in our conversation, and it's a very positive, productive effort for the city that they invited GPAS into this effort too, as one representative of Indigenous peoples in our community, not the only one. The second thing I would mention is that we had a conversation about the budget and funds that are available currently for this Indigenous Peoples' Day celebration and what that means of then what's possible. So I know, Stephanie, that Mallory was going to reach out to you about seeing if there was any additional budget that could be available. But then I think also there will likely be an ask to the community, especially maybe business sponsors, for this event, specifically because there's an appetite to maybe make it match the level of some of the other activities that the city hosts throughout the year. For example, if you can think about Juneteenth, not that it will is currently planned to reach that level, but there is an ambition to see how far we can go, and on this time frame as well too. And so just mentioning that in case that's come up with any of your other conversations too, in context of outreach and events. And then I have a third aspect that I hope I still remember, which is that we will have to move fairly quickly. So we left that conversation in a really great place. There's a lot of ambition, a lot of moving forward to see what's possible within the funds that are able to be compiled and collected. But we will see. We're along for the ride and to support the effort with our local community and also with the city government. So happy to report back in the future to what we hear. But Sylvia, is there anything else that you would add?
No, that was great. Thanks. Next would be the mental health celebration, October 14th.
Yeah, Bijou and I haven't spoken about reaching out, so I think
Okay.
it's something that we still need to do.
Do you know if you heard from Parks and Recs yet? They reached out directly to us to initiate, so maybe that might be, if not, then we could share the same.
I mean, Mallory should have it, because I sent Mallory an email with each commissioner's contact information.
Okay.
Well, it was an email that would have been to Mallory, and you and Bijou would have been CC'd in it. So Mallory has it, but,
Okay.
so I know Mallory's on vacation this week, or she's out of the office. I shouldn't say she's on vacation, but I know she's out of the office.
Okay, so maybe we can circle to see if that
Yeah.
landed in your inbox and if,
But and if you're thinking of time range, I would say those were sent out either that second or last week in June. It was shortly after your last meeting.
okay.
It's been a while.
That would be, it would seem to me then you would want to have people connecting, like Kelsey has suggested, that you connect with mental health groups. I'm thinking about NAMI. And NAMI frequently has a walk. I don't know if it's in the fall. I forget. But that would be one organization that's dealing with mental health in a very large way. And I know that there's more probably at the university.
Yeah, there's the university counseling services, and then there are other places too that are working with mental health. So I think, yeah, I'm just going to check that. I'm not able to see that, but I think some of my mails might have gone into the spam.
Okay.
What is, I looked at October 14th and I've got this note about mental health celebration, RAL Social Hall. What's that?
It's Robert A. Lee.
Robert A. Lee Social Hall. Okay, so it's
Maybe it's already.
where the TRC met some weeks ago?
No, that's the senior
Oh, that's the
center.
senior center, okay.
It's
I get
just literally
Robert A.
right
Lee's
across here.
Over here.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Learning all the time.
Trust me, you've probably been there many, many times.
Pardon?
I said you've probably been there many, many times.
I know I have.
Yeah. So,
I just didn't get,
the acronym,
I don't know city alphabet yet.
yeah, I get you.
City alphabet. And then the third program that we were looking to collaborate with the rec department on was All Around the World, November 18th. Mallory did reach out to ask for dates, and I think probably the two other earlier occurring programs are just because they're occurring earlier, are taking precedent at this moment, so I'm sure that I'll be hearing back from her soon on a date that we'll meet. Yeah. Good. All right, we're going to move to item number 11, commission committees. Should we go through each committee, starting with, just in order, building bridges?
Yeah. So I think we can be rather brief because we don't have an update. And so I think the update would just be that in case other committees are also in this place, we need to re-inject energy into our own committee following the summer. And so just noting that that's the intent, that's my intention. I think that's our intention going into the next fall period, and returning to some of the goals that we had initially set out and revisiting them. So that's our ambition.
Great.
If you agree.
Right, no, absolutely.
Okay.
And I'll jump the line for
Yep,
breaking
go
bread
ahead.
and say exactly the same
Yeah.
thing. That's probably where we are too. Yeah.
For reciprocal relationships, we're in a similar situation. I'll say that I think our goal around that was to help revision the social justice, racial equity grants, and I think through the last time we met, Stephanie helped us to kind of push that forward. in a way that is really proactive, that it actually is nice. You know, we weren't doing it all just within the committee, but spread out amongst the commissioners. I think at this point, we want to, Lusala and I, kind of sit down and think about where is our role now? Given that each commissioner has a grantee organization that they're going to be facilitating a relationship with, how can we help that? And whether it's helping to think through a one-pager, like we talked about earlier, to finding ways to make it easy for folks to meet. I don't know, we'll have to think through, and please, as you're thinking about this, and working with your individually assigned organization, let us know if there's ways that we can help you to build that reciprocal relationship. Very good. All right.
Sorry, before we move on.
Yep.
Mark, because I know there's a vacancy on two of these.
Breaking Bread and reciprocal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where I was in the olden days was Breaking Bread,
Oh, okay. All right.
so I'm content there.
Okay.
Great.
And I guess just as a moment, there's an open seat right now, right? Okay. And that seat would go until December? Or how,
More than
Oh.
likely, what they would do is they would appoint for, I think the appointment's in October, so they would appoint for the rest of the year and then extend it out for another, well, no, Sue Ann had just joined. Well, it's an unexpired term, so they would just take over the time she has on her term, which would still be about 2 years, because she just got appointed this year,
okay.
so.
So taking over hers and finishing out her term?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was thinking it was somebody who ended in December, but
Got it.
she just got appointed, so she still has about 2.5
When
years.
do you know when the application closes for that?
I do. I have it in an email, I just have
Okay.
to pull it up.
It'd be I mean, that could be an action item for all of us if we still have a few more weeks to really try to push it out to the community.
I wonder too, I mean, just thinking about the building bridges, and it was evoked earlier too about our relationship with city council and our role in connecting with city council, especially through this committee. It does make me wonder, there are some current grant processes that the city is undertaking related to the fund of $4 million, and that has an impact on several of our minority groups within our community. I wondered if it might be possible at one point in time to hear an update on that, Stephanie, or if there's any correspondence or any updates that could be provided to the full commission?
I'm not sure what grants you're speaking.
Well, maybe I can clarify with you after, and maybe we can just see if there's any documentation.
I'm sure there is, is it the one for underserved, underestimated, okay.
I think
Is
so,
it-
but I don't
okay.
know.
That one I think is still kind of working itself out, but I can certainly, as stuff gets released, I can definitely share that with the commission. But if there's others, just let me know.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks.
And the appointment is, oh goodness.
Deadline?
That's not, is that right? No, that's what they're saying? No. Okay, so the appointment would be on, somebody would need to apply by 10/10, so October 10th
Oh,
at
great.
5 PM.
Okay.
And then the appointment would be the following Tuesday, the 17th. But I will say, the Commission has a pretty plentiful,
Does it? Oh.
yeah. So, I mean, there's probably some great folks sitting there that just haven't been selected yet, but it never hurts to recruit and encourage people to apply.
Okay, great. Any other discussion around commission committees? No? All right. Now we are on to item number 12, staff announcements.
Yeah, so we got a few things. So I sent an email out, but this past Sunday would have been the commission's birthday, the 60th birthday of the commission. And so we were able to create a very short, concise, but wonderful video that highlights the original 7 members who were appointed by the city council back on August 20th. Well, they would have been appointed at the September meeting, but the commission was actually established August 20th. And so that hopefully will be coming out here in the next few days. We'll do a news release and try to get it on social media. One thing that we're doing to honor this legacy is a program on September 13th at 1 p.m. And we will actually have the Demetria McCain, who she's the PDAS for HUD, which in layman's terms means she's a second person in charge under Marcia Fudge, which is a huge honor to even be able to get on her schedule and have her be able to do a conversation with the community, talking about HUD's initiatives as they relate to affordable housing, inclusive neighborhoods, and discrimination. And just some of you probably have heard this, but the reason that the city started the commission was around housing discrimination. There were many very obvious, flagrant, people did not want to rent their homes or sell their homes to people of color. And the community came together and kind of said to the city council, we need to establish something or some group to deal with this. And so that's why it's neat to have Demetria McCain serve as, the voice, I guess, of the birthday of the commission, just because of that history.
Relative to that, you do need to register.
You do, you could register literally right at the time. The problem is then you have to wait for Zoom to send you the link. So
Yeah.
if you're registered ahead of time, then you can just put it on your calendar and click on it. Because there is some delay from when you register to when Zoom shoots it out. Not much,
It's a
but there's
virtual
little.
event.
It's a virtual event, and Representative Ross Wilburn, who used to be the mayor of Iowa City, will actually be introducing Demetria.
Nice.
So,
It's fantastic.
and then, trying to think about, we'll also be doing a news release. A lot of things, but I think it's this coming Monday, I think, is the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. So 1963, a lot of things were going on. So we'll also be doing a news release and doing some social media outreach to bring attention to that, historical event too, signaling kind of one of the first kind of mass protests to, demand human rights for persons.
Did you say it was the 28th?
Yes. So just be on the lookout for that. And we have a program coming up, Digging Deeper, which has a wait list of 2. But as I told Mark, usually when I send out reminders, there's always some folks who say they can no longer participate or attend. It's an in-person training on September 21st from 1 to 3 at the East Side Educational Recycling Center. And I don't know what the acronym for that one is, Mark. But you've been there before, so.
And I just know the facilitator, and if you have an opportunity, you want to be at this. Tommy Ross?
Yes. Yep.
So I missed the topic here.
I think it's
Digging-
repurposing privilege,
Repurposing privilege.
Digging deeper.
digging deeper. Yeah, we've hosted Tommy a few times, so this is his 3rd time, but his reviews are always, 4 or 5 stars. Very, very.
High energy, very engaging.
And where's the information on how to register for that?
I can just send it out
Oh,
if
okay.
that's easy.
Absolutely.
I would say the city's website, but some folks, find that accessible and others don't, so it's probably just better for me to send it out. I think that's,
Any other?
well, Madison's starting, Madison Bartlett, so she's actually going to be a part-time communications assistant in the office.
nice.
So we're excited about that. Starts on Monday. So
Okay.
hopefully each of you will meet her when she's delivering the checks and taking pictures, so. But yeah, so we're excited to have a third edition, even though halftime to the office, so.
And a reminder for myself and anyone else, it's probably just myself, is to fill out the form that tells a little bit about yourself for the commission social.
Do we get to see that before you post it?
There's a lot of
No,
questions.
but we don't change anything.
Yeah, I know, but I probably shot my mouth off in a way that I would like to.
Yeah, they show you.
I don't get it.
I
Maybe
thought you
just for
came off
Mark.
real good.
I don't get it, though.
He's saying he maybe wrote something he doesn't.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can send it back. Yep, send me a reminder. I'm going to make a note, but.
Just for you,
send me a
Mark.
Reminder too, please.
Okay. Any other staff announcements?
I think that's it, thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving to item number 13, commissioner announcements. Commissioners shall not engage in discussion with one another concerning said announcements. Mark, would you like to go first? We can just go down the line.
All right. I was at the webinar for the anniversary of the American Disabilities Act. It was very impressive. I had no idea. I took copious notes. I learned so much during that. On August 1st, I was at the, I'm going to call, the public was invited to be at the TRC facilitation meeting. This was 3 days of really hard work, and the hospitality was so good that the facilitators, when I came in, they asked me who I was, and I said, I'm Mark Priest. I used to be, or no, I think I was a human rights commissioner by then. And they put me in the circle. And I shouldn't have been, because the TRC and the facilitators were. And so I was in that circle for about an hour, and Stephanie was there. The energy in the room, both the urgency and the difficulty. The facilitators did a real good thing about quieting. I couldn't go back the next 2 days. I endured in the circle for an hour, and then I went out and sat. One of the things I really encountered was, and I'm sorry I couldn't stay, was Native Rage. And that continues to inspire me. And in my denomination now, we're working on facing the sin of our colonial genocide. But being with the TRC and the articulate of the group and willingness to share and the investment of time, and I came away from there feeling like, of course, these people would be paid because of the investment of themselves and the time. It was a very powerful thing. Enough said. I thought the Lens edition this month was just exceptional again, and I'm with other DEI groups, and I forwarded the Lens as a great resource for them, and they're all excited to have it.
Thank you.
And that's where I read about you. I did want to make, I guess, it's not really penance. It's, when I left the commission, I had significant zeal for Native people. And then I was away recovering from knee surgery, and when I was well enough, I started coming back to commission meetings. When I brought up the land acknowledgement, it wasn't so much that I was excited about the land acknowledgement, though I do think it needs a lot of work compared to the others that I've seen. It was, I wanted my commission to be doing something, and I wanted the committees to be meeting. But the other thing was there was so much happening in Des Moines, and nothing was happening in the commission related to what was happening in Des Moines. And Leslie and I went to at significant gatherings in Des Moines to be present. And so I'm back on the, let's see, I want to provide light, but right now I have heat, okay? You smile and nodding. Thank you. Oh, the reason I can't be here on November 15th is the other knee's getting replaced that day.
I don't have a lot to share except that I did a training, which is a very, very nice training by it's through the World Health Organization, which gives a grant. And this has reached, from what I have learned and heard from other people say, it's only New York and Iowa. So it's a training for working with refugee communities, and it's called Problem Management Plus. It helps people I did a train the trainer training, which means that I will work with identifying people in the community who are from the refugee community, but who've been here probably for a little longer and can be the point person who can indeed go in the communities and speak with them, especially regarding mental health and working. It's like a one-on-one sort of a session that they provide, which is not therapy, but it's a way of reaching out. A simple, like a whole manualized problem management one-on-one session. So that training was wonderful, and probably people who are interested in doing refugee work from across Iowa were here in Iowa City. It was done in the College of Public Health. So highly recommend that training for people who might be interested in doing refugee work. And I've been attending different webinars on, again, today was one organized through the Carver College of Medicine on refugee trauma and working with them. So I think that's what has been going on, although my work with IC Compassion has ended. And I'm going to be starting working at the hospital in the neuropsychology clinic, but I'm still connected with wanting to continue doing, and even with the neuropsychology clinic, I said that I'm more interested in working with refugees and immigrant populations that may not know the language and don't have the same access to resources. So I think that's there. Still, there are concerns about getting a lot of people to therapy. Medicaid does not accept a lot of applications that might not have any other place to go to. So I think that's something that still needs work, but we're lucky that we're a college town, so we have the university and we're able to provide services like this through IC Compassion or other practicums. Students can just go and serve. So yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you.
Not much from me this month either. It's been a busy summer. And some family health issues at home, so been kind of occupied there. But I will just, Mark, I think what you said is very, it strikes me, because I think I sort of feel the same way, with the activity in Des Moines and things that I think there is more that we could be doing and we should be doing. And just, I know it's not a discussion here, but one thing I would like to kind of start looking at, and maybe, if you're on Breaking Bread with me, we can maybe start in that space, is I've been reading a lot about a few cities across the country that have declared themselves sanctuary cities for gay, lesbian, trans, and queer people in red states. That have passed laws that have banned transgender care, health care, things like that, like has happened here in Iowa. So putting something like that together that we can forward to City Council and, strengthening that, like I said earlier, strengthening that alignment and kind of making ourselves more of a partner or arm of City Council, putting action behind words, which is, I know, something, Kelsey, you've said a lot too. So, yeah, that, and I think as far as intersectionality, I know I always beat the rainbow drum here, but with the March on Washington, one thing that I think a lot of people don't know about is Bayard Rustin. who was one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s, right-hand men, who was his main assistant, who was a gay man and organized the March on Washington. But because he was gay, a lot of times he was kept in the shadows. So trying to uplift that and put those voices out there, whether it be 60 years after the fact or not, I think is important too. So that's all from me.
Wow. So I think I might just come in to say, on the action thread, I think sometimes too, I see that we as individuals are involved in representing human rights in our community with the relationships that we have. And so I think I kind of want to amplify that too, of like even outside the commission meetings, like sharing that kind of information with each other of upcoming things. Obviously, we have each other's contact information, and just so encouraging that level too, because there is activity and there's action, and each of you are really engaged in the community and active with those that you know too. So amplifying that and amplifying the work of others as well too, and sharing that with one another. And in addition to that, setting some ambition, I think is exciting when I think about this fall and upcoming things. Would love to talk with you more about your idea at another time, Doug, and following up there. In our last commission meeting, I mentioned that there was an ongoing book study in the community on Bleeding Out, which is a book by Thomas Abt. I was only able to attend one of the 4 meetings that they had, unfortunately, but I did hear a little bit of update about where that went, and I know that the city has, Stephanie, I might need an update on her title, but there is an individual who is leading the effort on violence reduction strategies for the city of Iowa City. I don't know. I'll look it up. I'll send it around. I'll let you guys know. But, so I don't have much of an update there besides it happened. There continues to be a focus on violence reduction in Iowa City and what that can look like. And I will just say to all of you that there are many different models of what that can look like. And we've been doing in my work, in my day job, research on offices of violence prevention, which is one such model. And what some effective lessons are of when those offices make an impact in their community, what makes them tick. And these are offices that can be community-based, they can be city-based, or they can be a mixed method of kind of both city and community. So I'll continue to share any insights from that, but just know there are many different ways of getting where you want to go and addressing the needs of the community too along the way. So maybe just a note that before our next meeting, we will have International Day of Peace, which is September 21st. This is a UN-sanctioned International Day, as well as something that I know a lot of communities kind of focus around a bit. There are some activities that I know, Sylvia, we've spoken about too, that happen at the United Nations, because it overlaps also with United Nations General Assembly and their high-level week. So there will be a number of things that could be promoted on social media, but also I'm sure different events that are happening too around a National Day of Peace. I think that's it for me.
Thanks. And I'll keep it fairly short. On just to go and kind of reaffirm, I think everyone as they deserve had a really great summer, but I'm really looking forward to coming back and taking some of our words and putting them into action. And I think the social justice, racial equity grants are one way that we can do that, and really building relationships and making sure that that grantee experience is more than, is amplified through our mutual kind of one-to-one relationship. Other things, after our last meeting, I think was in June, I went out to New York City and celebrated Pride and really enjoyed that. And I would be really excited to think about a sanctuary city, even just to explore that option generally moving forward. And I think that's an action that we could take together as a group. It's been 2 years since the Taliban took over Afghanistan. And part of the work that I do is working with universities around the world to find safe havens for individuals whose lives are being threatened or immediately threatened. And over the past 2 years, we've worked to help to find safe haven for about 500 Afghan women, and we're going to continue that work. But that we just put out a report on how they're doing and where they're at, and we're hoping to be able to continue that work, and we'll see. And then today I just got the word that I have been approved to be on the board of the Iowa City Foreign Relations Council. So to my understanding, they have kind of weekly events where they host speakers around foreign relations for the Iowa City community. So I'll make sure that I share those with this group as we move forward and maybe think about ways that we can synergize our work. Okay?
I had a question for staff. I like this intercommunication with us, but are we vulnerable to the open meetings law?
Do you just have a question or need to clarify something?
I think that's what I'm doing right now, yes.
Okay.
My question is, if I send an email to all of the commissioners, did that violate the open meetings law?
Yeah.
So how do I communicate with the commissioners, 4 at a time or something?
I think the city attorney would tell you to send it to staff and to have staff send it out.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Good. All right, if there's no other commissioner announcements, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting today?
I move to adjourn.
And a second, please? All right. It has been properly moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Well done.